States are cracking down, so unions are thinking up new schemes to expand. The latest is what's called a micro-union. It would allow them to rope in a few workers at a time instead of organising the entire company. The government's getting ready to decide whether or not to allow it. My next guest warning it could be a major job killer. Brett McMahon of halttheassault.com joins me now. So let me make sure I've got this right. Supposing you've got a big restaurant, 100 people. These micro-unions could come in and organise, what, 5 or 10 people. The management would have to recognise that small group, which would then have a little cell to organise within the entire organisation. Is that how it would work?
Yes, actually, I mean, it could be the knife washers or the placemat setters or the napkin folders. And what's remarkable about this, among other things, other than the kind of job-killing organized agitation that it creates, is the fact that the National Labor Relations Board actually just kind of came up with this on their own.
The National Labor Relations Board, isn't that supposed to be neutral?
Yeah, theoretically.
No, seriously, I mean, it is. I mean, hasn't it usually been relatively neutral, and now it's not?
It is. It's usually dominated by one person from whoever the party in the White House is. But this board is unprecedented. It is populated by activists, strategic activists, in particular Craig Becker, who used to be general counsel to the SEIU and at some point in time the AFL-CIO, and actually is a guy who he's stunning. He should be disbarred, frankly, because he has actually ruled on two cases so far that he was the advocate for originally. He brought the case, then ruled on it.
Shouldn't you have a vote? If you want to change the structure of how we allow unionization or we go for unionization, shouldn't there be a vote? It occurs to me that this is a direct action of a branch of the executive branch, and it's acting out of place. And that's my opinion. What do you say?
Well, they've actually now appointed to themselves judiciary powers and, according to this action, legislative branch powers too. In fact, this whole system is really archaic. It's 75 years old, and I'm very thankful, frankly, that the House GOP has seen fit to take two steps. Representative Tom Price has introduced an amendment to the continuing resolution that would fully defund the NLRB and allow these cases to go to court like everything else. Okay. But also in the continuing resolution is a amendment to trim their funding back significantly by about $54 million because, frankly, their caseload has dropped and their workload has dropped, so they must have cut their budget.
A huge fight. Brett McMahon, thanks for joining us, sir. Keep in touch with this one. This is a big deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unions are fighting as states start cutting. They're trying to protect their benefits.
Thanks
More than a dozen of the biggest unions meeting to strategize and raise $25 million to fight back. They're worried that the clampdown on them will hurt the president's chances in 2012. Reaction now from former White House senior advisor Carl Rove. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Stuart.
The union's losing ground, and they're kind of desperate to catch up.
Yeah, normally I have a whiteboard, but today I have a white piece of paper. If you take a look at it in 2009, the unionized workforce made up 12.3% of all the workers in America. In 2010, it had dropped to 11.9% of the workforce. They lost 612,000 union members in 2010 alone. Now, think about it. Every one of those 602,000 people had literally perhaps several $100s worth of union dues going into the political coffers of their union to spend on politics. So, yeah, you keep having a couple 100,000 people each year. For 500,000 people leave the labor union movement every year, and pretty soon you start having crimp in the political budgets of these unions that has a direct effect on the presidential budget.
We've been talking a lot about Governor Scott Walker in Wisconsin, who's attempting to really reduce the power of state government workers. How that works out, we don't know at this point. But there's been an enormous pushback from state worker unions. They're desperate not to lose any more ground.
Well, absolutely. And here's another fancy graphic. The union movement is increasingly public sector unions. Last year, 7.6 million public sector union members versus 7.1 million private sector unions. Increasingly, more and more the union movement is made up of government workers. And look, Governor Walker was the first Republican chief executive of Milwaukee County in nearly a century. And what he did was, one of the things he did was, he trimmed the county employee rolls. And all heck broke loose. and he got reelected by a big margin. People understood that the taxpayers in Milwaukee County, who were very Democrat, understood they were paying the tab for unnecessary people. I mean, literally, he took people in the Parks Department. Talk about something sacrosanct, and reduce the number of people there. So he understands keenly how important this is.
Is there a divorce at this point between some Democrats and their union supporters? I'm thinking of Michael Madigan, an Illinois power broker who reportedly now
Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House, indeed. Governor Cuomo in New York State. Jerry Brown looking for an 8 to 10% cut in the wages of state worker union people.
I think you're right. Not only that, but it's happening inside the labor movement. One of the people who's advising Governor Cuomo on what to do with state government employees is the leader of the trades movement in western New York out of Buffalo. So you have increasingly a divide inside the union movement with people whose jobs are dependent upon a vibrant private sector economy saying, you know what, it's my people who are kept out of work and are still paying the tab for the people who've got a permanent job inside government that's protected by all these special benefits that we don't get in the private sector.
You think things are beginning to move really quickly? I think it seems like the real financial problems of the states have forced this union idea, this real contest here, right to the fore.
That's why Wisconsin is so critical, because Scott Walker is tough and tenacious, and it's look in every big moment like this, it tests the mettle of the person in charge, whether it's the Maggie Thatcher and the Falklands, Ronald Reagan and confronting the air traffic controllers, whether or not the Republicans and legislators stand firm with Walker and saying to these people, I bet there wasn't a half a dozen people out there in that mob outside the state capitol in Madison who voted for those Republicans to begin with.
I got to leave it, but I got to leave it with this. A Democrat in Wisconsin is saying that there are going to be changes in Governor Walker's anti-union bill.
Let's hope
he says they will be substantial.
Let's hope he's wrong.
Okay. Karl Rove, what a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Stuart.